Okay, first and foremost, I have to preface. Hi, Diana. Welcome back. Unfortunately, you're wrong. Let's get on this.
How is it possible that something is moving faster than the speed of light if the speed
It's not.
of light is the fastest thing in the universe?
It's also, again, they're not going to say Cherenkov radiation because that's the speed of light in a liquid, and it's different. So an object can move faster than the speed of light than liquid because the speed of light in the liquid is slower than the fastest object can move through it, which is bonkers. But let's forget about that. I give it a dislike because you get a complete minus on this.
Universal speed limit. What you're referencing is Einstein's special theory of relativity, which says that nothing can move through the universe, through space, faster than the speed of light. And that's true. But space itself can expand, and the
I guess.
space between two objects can expand such that it
Obviously.
moves those objects apart faster than the speed of light. So nothing is actually violating special relativity. Space is expanding with galaxies.
You're bringing this whole thing up with the assumption that it's true. And unfortunately, I'm going to have to bust your bubble on this one.
And carrying them apart from each other. Here's us, we're, where we are at the center of our observable universe. And then if you go in all directions out 14 billion light years, you get a sphere. And that sphere is called the Hubble sphere, beyond which everything is moving away from us faster than the speed of light. And it's not a little bit of stuff. It is 97% of all galaxies in the universe are moving away from us faster than the speed of light. It's not just
They're not.
a couple.
It's crazy. It's
Yeah, nothing. Okay, again, center of the universe thing. It's dangerous when you think in those terms because that's old school thinking. I mean, 18th century thinking. We're not here anymore. We are some part of the universe somewhere. So drop that, cancel it out of your head, and then you'll start using real science.
something moves faster than the speed of light, we will never see it via light.
I mean, that's like what you would intuitively think, yes.
We'll never see that galaxy as it is. We'll only see it for how it was when the light left it.
Okay, you are right and wrong.
Cool. Glad
I mean, that's okay.
There's a galaxy that we actually discovered in 2016.
That's true.
It's called GNZ11. That galaxy is about 31.96 billion light years away from us now. So that galaxy is moving away from us like 3 times the speed of light or something like that.
So we basically had a signal that was able to go from it towards us, and so it literally took all that time. But the thing is, it could have shown that light way earlier, right? And it would be even closer, but at some point that light got shone and everything expanded, and then it got to us. Which, if the expansion of the universe means anything, then you have to recalculate the idea of light moving through space at a regular speed, because if it's regular, then the expansion of the universe would make it take extra long to get to us. If the expansion of the universe is actually false assumption and it's just the stuff spreading out through the universe like dish soap in a pan or in your sink or whatever, then you have to realize that it's not space that's moving, which would change technically the speed of light through interstellar expanding spaces. And you'd have to think about that and express that, and you're not, and it frustrates me.
But you're right, we're seeing it as it was 13.4 billion years ago. Now, it might not even be there anymore. Like, all of the stars might have burned out. It might have been swallowed by another galaxy. It's crazy to think that there's a galaxy we're seeing that might not even be in existence anymore.
Well, I mean, obviously, if you trail it forward for its motion, it could have easily moved a gigantic distance away. That any amount of time, then you have a large amount of motion possible, the longer time it is.
Oh, that's crazy. The universe is just like this stagnant thing. Like all these rocks are where they are, and light is emitted from that rock all the way over to this rock. If nothing moved and it took 13.4 billion years for the light to get across from one to the other, then they would be 13.4 billion light years apart.
Okay, that's
But
correct.
imagine the space between all the rocks and dirt. Imagine that's all expanding with the rocks. So as light's traveling across, the distance between the rocks is getting bigger and bigger. So even though it only took 13.4 billion years for the light to get from GNZ11 to us, we are now 32 billion light years away from that galaxy.
How is it possible?
Okay, so I won't give you a complete F. That's more like a C. You got like some parts wrong, but I need to show you something. It's important. Okay, so bendy straw. It's got those little bits that, when compressed, and the main thing about a bendy straw, it's like an accordion, but it's the modern day thing that you can actually look at, and everyone has at home. So you have one of these, right? I better be very careful what the fuck I do right now. But anyhow, you have one of these and you stretch it out. Now, each one of these segments are equal length. Where the fuck is it? Yeah, each one of these tiny segments is an equal length. And I move them all. Let's say they are all moving at the same rate. These tiny segments of bendiness that are like, you can compress them back, right? And you can move like some of them. And that's only one, let's say that's 1 parsec of expansion. And if you move all of them, then that is literally 10 sections of the same expansion rate. But clearly, the stuff that was on...
Well, that something is moving faster than the speed of light. If the speed of light is the
Shut up.
fastest thing in the universe.
The universal.
Stop. But clearly, as everything is so close together, you can see this real easy. The stuff that was really close, the stuff that is only one section apart, only moves one segment for the entire length of motion that has occurred. But everything moved, everything expanded. So something in between any two of these segments, like one here and one there, you can tell that's only one section of space, but the entire thing moved. So something that was really close moved really far away. But it's the same rate of expansion. Does that make sense? So what you have is the further out you go, that same rate of expansion is going to multiply on itself. It doesn't mean the space is moving any faster. It's the same expansion rate everywhere. So imagine if you expand that from a tiny drinking straw that everyone can experience and know how that works, and then you expand it out to, I would love to make it into a short, I'm sorry, whatever, but like the thing is, no, if you're, okay, imagine you are not where we are, and you see us from 6 billion light years away. You're half of the way over to where the Hubble space is able to reach for us, but your circle of vision can only go as far as you possibly can think of going. And so when you see us, you're seeing us as moving multiples of the expansion of the universe, so much meters per parsec, right, away. I don't care what the number is. It doesn't matter. It's the same distance per mega length. Megaparsec is a gigantic amount of light years and whatever. So the point is, them looking at us would think of us as moving fast away versus something that was only 1 megaparsec away or a certain amount of light years away. It's very important to decentralize your measurements and just assume everything. So if you had someone who was 13 billion light years away would see us as moving 13 billion light years in that direction. That's not what's happening. Our movement through space is the same expansion of it's the same rate as everything else. And stuff that's on the other side of what we can see. For the people on the one side, it would be doubly as far. So are they moving doubly as fast away? No. And why is that? It's because rate of expansion, because it's like a shell that then presses on another shell, so that every one of these motions adding up together, one after another, after another, after another, expands it all out in an equal rate. You have to understand all of that stuff if it is actually expanding out like that because of the universe expansion idea. If it's real, again, just simply transpose yourself to anywhere else in the universe and you would see us moving at that crazy speed. Physically, we're not moving at that crazy speed. So what is really happening is that it's all just a compounding expansion rate depending on the position of the observer, right? So if you simply move through space faster than the expansion rate, you'll be able to see everything given enough time. The faster you go, the less time it'll take to get to wherever the hell you're going, which is obvious. So all you have to do is simply go double the speed of the expansion rate. And again, you're only moving... What is the expansion rate of the universe? Doesn't matter, because we can still move faster than that, possibly. Even if we're moving only a few kilometers faster than that per second, or per hour, or whatever, we would be able to reach everything that exists eventually. And this is what people get so wrong, is the basic analogy of a goddamn accordion, or in our case, the more recent, a bendy straw. Seriously, the stuff that is closest, when compressed, it's less than a centimeter across of the entire thing. When it's expanded, the entire thing is 2 centimeters across, but every section is now a fraction further away. So take that to its extreme. If the universe has an expansion rate, and you multiply that expansion rate, you end up seeing these millimeters turning into an entire extra centimeter of length, and you equate that to be distance over time. You're wrong, and you're stupid, and I'm sorry that your thinking isn't up to code with what's actually happening. So what is it? It's an illusion. So everything else is just spreading out at the same rate. It's not a compounding like they're moving faster away when you move double the parsec. It's that they are moving potentially that extra distance, but they're not moving faster. And you have to get that through your head, because if you don't, you're not doing proper science, and I'm sorry. That's just how it is. So, like, literally, the thing about it is, if relativity was real, then you have to also admit we ourselves, according to some other observer, are moving so many times the speed of light away. And the further out you go, the greater that number is. And it's insane, because it means that if we are actually moving the speed of light away from everything else, clearly, like, then the expansion of the universe would be a greater number and everything. No, you have to be more subjective than this. You can't let yourself be a center and have that be a valid measurement. You have to compare yourself, and you have to look out even further and just think of someone looking at it from a very big distance. Everything's just moving out all at the same rate. Like all my fingers are moving out at the same rate, but each individual finger is only moving out a little bit, but all of my fingers from one to the other is a larger distance, right? Much large, slightly larger for each finger, like between each of the other fingers. Like this distance is only so much, this distance is larger, right? Obvious. Every segment you add on increases the distance that you have increased, but it doesn't mean they're moving faster. It just means they're moving a greater distance. But the other thing that's going to break your noodle is that distance over time when it comes to how we measure how far away a galaxy is from us, is that the further away you go, the further back in time you're going. So if we see something and we label it as we know it is from the light that we have seen 13 billion light years away, screw your measurements of speed. They are irrelevant. We are talking about an event that happened at the site of 13 billion light years distance from us. And that can be calculated and that can be accurate, but it doesn't say anything about our expansion. You need to have multiple segments. You need to have the entire thing mapped out and understood throughout the motion of multiple decades, possibly, or even just years is all it takes. But you have to be able to have so many measurements of how it's fast and moving. But also, every time you go further, like if you're going 1 light year away and then you suddenly go 2 light years away, it took twice as long for that light to get to you, but it's still depicting something that happened 2 light years away. So if you suddenly see something go from 2 light years to 3 light years, the difference is 1 light year. So you expect it to take another year of distance. How far did it actually go, or how fast did it actually take to get there? You have to do all sorts of calculations about how, well, for it to move another light year away, it would have to be moving the speed of light. So let's say that it moved that light year away, but it took 10 years for it to do that, then it's moving 1/10 the speed of light away in that distance. And there are other such things that you can do to track things and figure out how fast it's actually going. It's really easy to figure out once you know what you're doing. But the fact is, simply by the idea of the expansion of the universe being equal for every distance, then you have to realize that expansion rate can be the same for any given section. You don't even need a freaking thing. You can just use your fingers and be like, oh, that distance, the difference between these 2 fingers is this. The difference between these 3 fingers is this. And 4 fingers is that. But they all move the same distance away from each other. And at the same rate, meaning that extra distance seems like it's moving faster, but it's not. That's the crazy thing. That distance over time doesn't mean distance over time anymore. And it's something to wrap your head around. It's something to totally blow your mind, but it's like, yeah, no, distance over time doesn't actually mean speed. Right? Which is like, that doesn't make any sense. It's always distance over time. It's a simple calculation. So everything at a further distance over the same amount of time, it has to have actually be different. And the distance has to actually compound like that. It's nutty. So again, if you're moving the rate of the universe through space, you're going to see everything. If you expand the universe enough in all directions equally, from the distance from here is going to seem small, and the distance from here is going to seem large, but it's the same rate. And they're not actually moving a faster distance away from each other. But the total distance is segments on top of segments on top of segments. And that's nutty. But also, the space is not spreading out in that way because objects are simply drifting through space at a regular rate that is their regular rate. Some objects are obviously moving faster, some are moving slower, and all objects are simply moving throughout space. And it was fascinating that when they did the calculations to try to track all the motions and then try to figure out where this supposed center of the universe was, they were like, we can't find it because they don't coalesce into a single spot. And then also, like, they just keep going. There's more distance. They would have kept on being from an even further away spot. That's because they started wherever they started and they are moving at the rate of their motion since they started. And that's it. So unless gravity from other objects comes into play, nothing's going to change their motion. They're just going to keep on moving with zero slowdown whatsoever for billions of years. There is no reason for them to stop. It's not through an atmosphere where there's something that could friction and slow them down. Although there is like a tiny amount of like a very small parts per million per cubic meter of stuff out in space, that's not going to stop objects with momentum. It's just not going to. The amount of fractions that is compared to the full momentum of a galaxy or a star or planet, it's just tiny, and this other thing has so much more momentum that you're not going to stop it. You're just going to collect into it or swivel around it, but you're not going to stop it. So, because you're so freaking tiny and you're not doing anything. So, that being understood, objects in motion just stay in motion. And so, stuff is just spreading out through space, moving around as they would. And so, unless you introduce an eddy current like the great attractor, which is not a great attractor, but it's just an eddy current of electromagnetic, of the whole, like, I call it the fabric of the universe is actually the electromagnetic field or the Higgs field or whatever. The substrate energy fields are dragged along with the galaxies. So wherever through the galaxy they have already started moving, that motion is going to continue. So it just means that something of a great force punched its way through space, and that at the end of it is where the supposed great attractor is, but everything else is just following this river. And that's crazy, but that's how it is. So it's another force that is involved, because like clearly it doesn't matter if there are stuff moving through it. It's like you pulled on the entire bed sheet from the center, because the physical substrate of the energy stuff that is throughout all of space is like the bed sheet. So it actually makes sense that when you pull on it, everything else is going to get dragged along, and everything else is going to be pulled along with it. And stuff from the outside is going to try to pull in to that newly empty space that is going to make this like vacuum. Right? It's going to collapse. It's like we are somewhere in the great attractor, which is fun. And I've gone off track. I'm sorry that you're wrong. You get a C. I haven't given her a grade yet. My comment on this said, I'm gonna have to burst your bubble. And I'm not being disrespectful. I'm being like, hey, you gotta think clearly about what you're actually saying here. Reevaluate because you're actually, unfortunately, incorrect about these factoids, about the way the expansion of the universe actually works, about how stuff is not moving the speed of light whatsoever, or multiples of the speed of light whatsoever. Right? That's not what's happening. But everything is moving like that accordion. And it's just a multiplication factor, but they're all just moving at the same rate, just all out. It's like if you were to ignore the multiplication factor and just say, per megaparsec, all this stuff is moving away. Everything farther away is still moving at this rate. So it doesn't matter. You don't multiply it together. You just think of everything moving at this same rate. Don't multiply it together. It doesn't work that way. Okay? It's just everything is all moving at the same rate. So actually the accordion idea of the solution is technically wrong. It's like a bunch of rope all moving in the same direction. It all is moving at the same rate, but some parts of it are moving clearly. They're far away. But like even if the accordion idea works, like that would mean you would have a multiplication thing. Again, if everything is just spreading out through space, it doesn't all add up. They're just moving at a single speed throughout the entire space with like whatever. Some stuff again can be going faster and slower, but the main idea is the most of it is moving through space that way so much per megaparsec, and it doesn't matter where you look, it's all moving at that same rate. It's not moving multiples of that rate per distance, that the further distance you look, it has a multiple that you should expect it all to be moving at that speed. It's not moving at that speed, it's moving at this rate. Please understand that. Stop miscommunicating science to people. I know it's an easy mistake to make, so you're not trying to do it. You're just not keeping track of how it all actually works, and it's hard because it's distance over time and stuff to do with space over into the past and everything else like that, how that works and everything. It's a lot to look into, and no one, even I, have not said a lot of the nitty-gritty of how to actually do the math about all this. But nothing's moving 3 times the speed of light. I'm done. I'm